Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is My Only Love, issue number 3, dated November 1975. The cover actually doesn't really directly relate to any of the stories in it, although it's a pretty well drawn cover. It's very reflective of the time. It's just two people embracing, so that's why I'm kind of struggling to find interesting things to say about it. But it is nice little eye candy. So I'm going to go into our first story, and it's called Rockin' Love. And our protagonists are Neil, Kathy, and there's one other person, Wayne, to mention. We take a look here. It's a rock scene. So this is kind of one of those, I fell in love with my idol stories. I guess this was sort of directed to girls who wanted to believe that if they only had the chance to be in front of their idol for even the smallest amount of time, their idol would just madly fall in love with them. So that's the story, and for the most part, it does work. If you are inclined to think this way, or you were, you'd probably enjoy it. The art looks like it's by Capella. So this is art that I've seen before. It's definitely art that would be associated with romance comics at this time. We see that there's a rock gig going on at a small club. Excuse me. Our protagonist, his name is Neil. He looks a lot like Bobby Sherman. And as far as Kathy, I can't really think about who Kathy might look like. I'll probably say a young Goldie Hawn. So anyway, she's looking at Neil, who's performing in this club. Definitely with the dreamy eyes here, and she's not the only one, as Neil seems to have a very large female fan base. And here we see Wayne. Wayne is the manager of Neil, who's this kind of young up and coming rock star. I guess in 1975 this would probably be Bruce Springsteen, but nevertheless he's not drawn that way. So the thing is, the two have never met before, but Kathy's in the concert, and her dreamy eyes are just so wonderful that Neil just breaks down. And he goes to his manager and he says, "Hey, you know that really cute blonde that was sitting at the table? I want her." And of course, like a good rock manager does, he placates the talent, and he goes after, he contacts Kathy, says, "Hey, do you want to go backstage?" Blah blah blah. And then we see Neil and Kathy are passionately kissing. And Kathy is just, she's on top of the world at this point. Wayne, however, the manager, feels differently. Wayne is like, "Listen, for some unknown reason that I can't articulate, if Neil gets involved with Kathy on a permanent basis, this will ruin his image. And thus it will ruin his career, and thus it will ruin, my sugar daddy here, because I plan on making a lot of money off of Neil." So the manager is kind of worried about this relationship. I guess it was probably similar to the Beatles, because when the Beatles came to America, John Lennon was actually married at the time. And I think the record company wanted to keep that very secret, because one of the appeals to the Beatles, in addition to all the great music, was the fact that these were young men who seemed to be single and available. And I guess they feel that perhaps there are some teen girls who would kind of lose interest in the Beatles if they found out one of the members was married. So I'm thinking that's probably what Wayne is kind of reflecting on. We see Neil is very open with his relationship. He's very close to her. He's ignoring all those other women who are just just huge fans of his. And we see here that Neil is recognized by his female fan base. They're going crazy. However, he only has eyes for Kathy. And, Kathy's saying, listen, we kind of have to get out of here, otherwise we're going to get mobbed. So Kathy's already using the we's in this relationship. So anyway, Neil, he's in this, I guess, fashionable convertible, red convertible that Prince sung about. And they're talking with Kathy. And, Kathy's trying to be realistic. But at the same time, she notices that this isn't a wonderful thing here. And just being with you for this small amount of time, that's heaven to me. And I can't believe that, Miss Nobody, and now I'm like Neil Mason's girl. And Neil wants to take this relationship a step further. Mind you, this is their first date. And he wants to marry Kathy right there on the spot. Like I said, this story appeals to young girls who believe that their idol will fall in love with them, or older women who have been scammed by Nigerian romance scammers. But we see here Kathy is quite enthusiastic with her yes to Neil's proposal. However, the two of them break the news to Wayne. And Wayne is not taking it too well, because once again, he sees Neil as his meal ticket here. So what he's going to do, he's basically going to passively cause problems and try to break up these two. And one of the ways he does it is that he sort of lets slip that Neil is going to be going on tour. Now this is news to Kathy, because Kathy's already picking out the wedding dresses, she's getting the wedding date set and all that. She thought Neil was being completely transparent with her, but then suddenly, there's this tour that I'm going to be going on that I didn't mention to you. Now one of the things I like here is the facial expressions of the two, because you see this really hangdog look from Neil after this kind of surprise news is broken. And at the same time, you see this very suspicious look from Kathy about, Neil never mentioned this to me. So again, this is really good art here. It's very heavily inked, I should say. This is something I normally don't see with the other Capella stories. So anyway, Neil apologizes to Kathy, saying that it was something that had suddenly come up, and I just didn't get a good chance to tell you about this. However, Kathy's not bothered. She's saying, "Don't worry. I know you won't touch any of those groupies in that other city that I won't be in." So then Neil and Wayne are talking to each other. And Neil is a little ticked off at Wayne, because the thing was, Neil wanted to tell Kathy about the tour. He had to, because he had to go on it. But he wanted to pick a better time and a better place to do this. And Wayne kind of threw this out there. Wayne of course, is being passive aggressive here. So he's playing the, I thought you already told her that. But don't worry about it. And she had to find out anyway. So just get packing, and we're going to head to Boston. And Neil is giving Wayne a little bit of a warning here, because Neil is kind of sensing that Wayne might be a little jealous for whatever reason. And he's saying, "Listen, Wayne, when I come back from this tour, I'm going to marry Kathy. And I know you have reservations about her, but I'm not worried about that." Wayne's playing the innocent card here, saying that, listen, it was just an honest mistake, not a big deal, as any passive aggressive artist would do. Okay, we see Neil here. We see him in concert. He is in his David Cassidy glory here. We see the fans here, all female, all middle-aged drawn, I should add. I'm guessing these are the Monkey fans who never moved on. because there are some people who, their musical taste is from when they were 12 to 14, and they don't want to listen to anything after that. And that's sort of the energy I'm getting from this concert crowd. He's actually touring colleges. So this is not even a real tour, because a tour is a continuous thing. He's just going around Boston and going to some of the college towns. God's sake. So anyway, Neil is still on the phone with Kathy, and apparently they're talking a lot. Apparently, not only is this for girls who want to believe their idols would fall in love with them, these are very needy and clingy girls. And the thing is that Neil is placating this clinginess, saying, "Oh, don't worry, I'll call you twice a day because it's a pleasure for me, not for you." And so yeah, so this was written for a very specific type of mindset. We see Wayne. He's eavesdropping. He's noticing that Kathy's getting a little impatient. So, Kathy, needy Kathy, clingy Kathy, she wants Neil to come back as quickly as possible. So anyway, Wayne is telling Neil that the concert starts in 45 minutes, don't want to be late. Neil's still on the phone with Kathy, that's his biggest concern at this point. And it turns out that Neil's doing very well on the concert circuit here. So the manager is thinking, hey, we should go out to Chicago and do some shows out there. But Neil is fine with this, but he wants to get the marriage to Kathy over with as quickly as possible, as soon as possible. So that's kind of the holdup here. Meanwhile, it turns out that while Neil was on tour, Wayne was kind of taking pictures and mailing them to Kathy, along with news clippings. And I think probably the type of photos that Kathy was getting back were probably with some of the would-be groupies and in that large female fan base, trying to make Kathy get ideas in her head about Neil, and that maybe she can't trust him and that he won't be faithful, and that she'll back out of this marriage. So again, a very passive-aggressive move here. Kathy, however, knows what Wayne is up to. So she goes out to Chicago. They're currently based in New York because she's asking for Kennedy Airport here. And she flies out to Chicago to directly confront the two. And in Chicago, it turns out that Neil's a bit confused because he keeps calling Kathy, but Kathy isn't, picking up or answering. Remember, this is the days, not only before cell phones, really before answering machines. So it was very common for most people not even to have an answering machine. So this is something, back in these days, if somebody wasn't home picking up the phone, you didn't know where they were. So anyway, Neil and Wayne are talking. Wayne is being very passive aggressive because as Neil's asking, where's Kathy? Where's Kathy? Wayne is saying, listen, she might have found someone new. Hey, you're a rising, good-looking rock star. She might have, fell in love with the supermarket clerk, for all you know. And so that's the story that Wayne is trying to sell. Yeah, good luck there. So anyway, there's big knocking at the door, and they should answer it, see who it is. And it turns out to be Kathy. So, Neil's just beside himself. He's so happy. The love of his life is there. And Neil's saying that, hey, I'm as clingy as you need to be. And I was going to have a heart attack if you didn't pick up that phone. And then it turns out Kathy's telling the story about how Wayne was sort of trying to passively break the two up, and that all he cares about is making money from you. What's kind of funny here is the blocking in this panel here, where Wayne looks like he's 3 feet tall at this point. So anyway, the gig is up for Wayne. Kathy puts an ultimatum saying, listen, Neil, it's either me or him. And of course, Neil is going to pick her. So Wayne lost everything in this story. Kathy gained everything. And we don't know what's going to happen to Neil in his career. Bobby Sherman did not have the career Bruce Springsteen did. So I guess these two are going to make it. This is really Kathy's dream scenario, so she's not going to give that up. Okay. So the next story is Telephone Darling, and again, this is art that I've seen before. It's pretty good. The women are drawn particularly well. It's one thing I kind of noticed about this story. Our two protagonists are Payne and Catherine. And it turns out that Payne Calhoun, he's a young lawyer. He works for an insurance company. And very often, he would have to deal with another young lawyer who's sort of in the business. And the two would talk shop and get things done. But I guess Kathy's voice was so mesmerizing to Payne that Payne started having these fantasies. And I can say this stuff actually did happen. People falling in love with someone over the phone. I'm sure it happened in those chat lines that were so popular in the 90s. I also encountered a case of that where I was working in a retail store, and a woman I ended up dating her later on. She had picked up the phone and she was talking to a customer, and the customer actually asked her out on a date over the phone. So this is not necessarily a unique situation, particularly in 1975, I guess. It might be a little harder since you didn't have those telecommunication advancements. So anyway, Payne, he's talking to his mystery kind of dream girl here, Catherine. All he knows really is her voice and the name, and I guess the interactions together. I guess Catherine must be pretty competent. So, I guess that's probably how they connected the two of them, I should say. So it turns out that Payne has a secretary, a beautifully drawn woman here, with a scarf. If the guy had this, we'd call it an ascot. Anyway, the thing is, she's kind of an eavesdropper. So she was eavesdropping on the situation. She picked up on the fact that Payne likes Catherine based on their phone interactions. And it turns out that she actually does know Catherine. And Payne is immediately asking her, is she nice? And, the secretary, Debbie, says, oh no, she's very nice. And he says, what does she look like? And then Debbie goes, yummy. and then Payne reverts to a fourth grader here, and he's thinking, yummy, that's what I thought. So anyway, and meanwhile, Debbie, the secretary, is kind of having fun here at this situation. She's already taken, and based on her looks, yeah, she's going to be taken. But nevertheless, she's kind of enjoying this little strange little romance here. These kind of remind me of some of the grade school romances I would see. So anyway, Payne is contacting Catherine, and turns out that Payne has 2 tickets to the basketball game, to the Knicks basketball game. So this story is set in New York. And he wants to give her the tickets saying, listen, these are 2 tickets. I'm not suggesting a date, but if you want to go with your sister, because I remember you mentioning you guys like basketball, you know, just let me know. And Catherine accepts this offer, and then Payne offers to send them over. So he's kind of vague here. So I think originally Payne was thinking about just probably inter-officing them to her, but however, he decides to use this as an excuse to actually go to the physical building and meet her, which is, I think, understandable. Even if he didn't have these romantic these romantic feelings, it still would be kind of sensible to kind of go there and introduce yourself in person. So what Payne is doing is not wrong. However, Payne is kind of doing something wrong here. And what he is, he's already decided what type of woman she is. And he's been daydreaming about a blonde. So he's thinking that Catherine is a blonde. So we see an attractive, dark-haired woman and brown hair, and she's leaving. And Payne immediately dismisses her as Catherine, because he's saying, no, she must have blonde hair. And so he's kind of oogling some of the attractive women nearby, kind of being a little bit of a creep here. And the thing is that the woman who turned out to be Catherine is walking by, and she's seeing this guy. And she's saying, oh, this guy's kind of creeping on all these women here. So anyway, Payne does see the redheaded woman that we'll know as Catherine later, and so he kind of follows her into the building. And Payne is making all types of assumptions about what type of woman Catherine is. Then we see Payne is at the office. He encounters, I guess, Catherine's secretary. And, oh no, does he? Oh yeah, no, he's asking someone where her office is. Okay. So anyway, Payne still has his preconceived notions about the type of woman he's expected to see. And then he encounters the attractive redhead with the glasses, and he introduces himself as Payne. And he's saying, listen, this is for, Catherine. And Catherine is saying basically, yeah, I'll take it. And she's saying, is there anything else, Mr. Calhoun? And Payne is kind of taken aback by this, because she's being a little, quote unquote, cold to him, and kind of being very businesslike and not being very impressionable. So this person who he had developed a good connection with over the phone, he's not seeing it in this woman here. And again, Payne, with his preconceived notions, he develops a preconceived notion about Catherine. Catherine, who kind of looks like Dana Delaney. I think Dana Delaney is basically my go-to redhead when I see one of these stories. Same way, Payne is thinking that she's probably a man-hater. Because if you're rude to Payne, you must be a lesbian who hates men. Why? Because you're rude to Payne. So Payne's kind of a jerk-off. Same way, Payne's moping, he's hating on the redhead there, saying how much he hates career women. And, he feels like he made an idiot of himself by going into the office. Because, yeah, he didn't do what he set out to do. So anyway, Catherine calls, says, listen, thank you, Payne, for the tickets. Me and my sister, we went. It was a great game. We had fun. So Payne is not discouraged. So he's being direct. For the first time, he's being direct. And he says, listen, how about we have dinner? The best thing, something he should have done much earlier. It turns out that Catherine has a bit of a scheduling problem. But he says that if you want to do it tonight, that actually would be the best time, because the rest of the week is not going to work for me. And Payne's kind of taken, so Payne is kind of taken aback. And he's not sure whether she's going to follow through. But Catherine says, don't worry, I'll let you know. You'll get a decisive answer. You'll meet me. This is not like a Nigerian romance scam. So it turns out that Catherine is at the restaurant that Payne had set up a reservation for. She's early, he's late, he comes in, and then he suddenly recognizes the redhead. And that was the redhead that he was bitching about her being a man-hater. And he's kind of taken aback by this. And Payne is doing something he should be doing. And then he's talking it out with her, kind of asking her some questions. And it turns out the reason why Catherine was very businesslike and very cold with him was that she had seen him earlier basically checking out all the secretaries that were passing by. And he had noticed that that Payne had kind of made those dreamy eyes to her secretary. So Catherine was probably thinking, oh, this guy's kind of a bird dog, and he kind of likes what he sees here, and I'm not going to disturb it, so I'm just going to, just be very businesslike with him. So basically, she felt that Payne probably was not interested in that way. Payne has a big laugh about it because he definitely is interested. I mean, Catherine is not that blonde bombshell he was dreaming about, but she's a beautiful woman. She's beautifully drawn here. So it turns out that another thing that Payne likes about Catherine's very concerned about her weight. So she doesn't want to order a drink simply because a drink would be fattening. And she wants to remain thin because Catherine feels that women who are a little bit more built tend to get a lot of unwanted male attention. So the thing is, Catherine sort of wants to keep herself as thin as possible because she feels that will actually keep some of that unwanted male attention away from her. I think actually it works the other way. You gain weight to avoid that attention. So, but it turns out during the course of their the dinner and their discourse, it turns out that these two actually knew each other. They were I guess in high school. She was a freshman and he was a senior, and he does remember him, and she's saying that she was basically a skinny, freckle-faced kid wearing glasses, and Payne saying, you haven't changed a bit. But he definitely means this in a good way. And Catherine then wants to go home, and rather than taking the bus, Payne's going to spring for a taxi. It's when you know you have a classy man there. So anyway, the two are hitting it off, not only over the phone, but, in person. Catherine is inviting Wayne to her place, and then it looks like there's kind of a yoga party going on. So I guess the person who wrote this was a fan of yoga and kind of wanted to kind of highlight it here for the kids. This one kid here kind of looks like Johnny Storm when he had the red costume. And it turns out, again, Catherine is talking about unwanted male attention, because the thing is that Catherine is wearing a leotard. The thing is that in the office, Catherine will often wear pants and she'll often wear baggy clothing. And it turns out, again, that's something Catherine did. She doesn't want unwanted male attention. She feels that if she dresses in a baggy way that doesn't highlight her physical figure, she'll get less male attention. She also says she wears glasses, even though she really doesn't need them. She just needs them for reading fine print. They're sort of like reading glasses. but nevertheless, she feels that the glasses also are discouraging for that male attention. I guess it's like that saying, they would say, girls who wear glasses never get passes, which isn't true. I even noticed that in like the ninth grade, like some of the cutest girls had glasses. So anyway, the two are talking. They're discussing the fact that, we got to know each other over the phone, and we're really fast becoming friends. And it turns out Payne wants to elevate the relationship a little further, and Catherine is open to this, but she talks about the basketball tickets. So that makes me think that these two have not been dating too long. And then the two embrace, and that is the end of our story. Will they make it? My guess is probably. Payne does need some work, but a lot of it's just like really kind of small things. And Catherine is kind of tolerant of this guy. So I think the odds are better that they'll make it than if they don't. Okay, I'm going to go to the last story. The way the lettering is handled, I don't know the full title of this story. It's called The Loveliest of Phil. I guess Friends. I don't know what they were going with this part of the title. And our protagonists are Matt, Teresa, and Helga. And Teresa and Helga, that's a terrible name, is they're best friends. So this is how those two are involved. So these two are best friends, and it turns out that Teresa is a big star. My guess is that part of her character was probably based on Brooke Shields because it would fit the timeline. Would it? If this was 79, I believe. No, 75. Okay, so it would not be Brooke Shields, but it could have been Brooke Shields at this time. She's very young. I think she's 19. She's apparently a huge star, a nationwide figure. And what's going on is that Teresa is passionately kissing Matt here, who's a childhood friend of the both of them. And Helga is concerned because she feels that Teresa is sort of like a black widow in that, she will get a man to fall in love with her. And once that man falls in love with her, she leaves him. And she just kind of wants him, to have a devastating life afterwards. So, and just kind of kill the man emotionally. So that's kind of the relationship that's going on with these three. And Helga's just as pretty as Teresa, except she's not the star. As far as Teresa, she kind of looks a little like a young Yvonne DeCardo. She was Lily Munster. She was a little older when she was in her movie Hot Days, but that's what she kind of reminds me of a little. I would say the redhead friend, Helga, she's kind of like Shirley MacLaine, young Shirley MacLaine. And this guy, Matt, probably Richard Hatch. Or maybe, what's his name, Nicholas Hammond from his Spider-Man days. So anyway, they're poolside here. And Teresa is kind of talking about the old days. So Teresa's sort of keeping us readers informed with this expository dialogue dressed as, do you remember when? And it turns out that Matt, Teresa, Helga, they all went to the same high school. Matt was a huge track star at the school. And he never noticed Teresa when they were in school together. And Teresa's saying, can you imagine that? And, just a couple of years later, Matt is passionately kissing me. Matt's denying that he ignored these two in school, saying that he liked both of you. And he was just a busy guy, and it's high school. Helga's asking Matt, how come he never dated either one of them? And Matt's saying that he was always pretty busy. And he was saying that Teresa was also very busy. So it was difficult for me to date either one of you because Teresa was really busy. No one cared how busy Helga was. And then Teresa is telling the readers this, that she worked her ass off in ballet training. She worked her ass off in singing lessons. She worked her ass off in acting lessons. But what put her over the top was winning a beauty contest, which is weird as fuck because how you look is basically just hitting the genetic jackpot here. It's not like she had to work for her look. So she did all these things that involved accomplishment, and it turned out it was my looks all along. So anyway, she became a huge star. She was like a big model. Again, a few years later, this would be played out with Brooke Shields, and it seemed like as Teresa was moving up, Teresa also wanted to take her best friend Helga with her. So, Teresa's going on this great ride, and Helga's sort of like the personal assistant slash, friend and buddy. I think what happens, I think she is on the payroll though, although the two are basically, kind of just school friends. Helga's thinking about Teresa, saying that Teresa actually does have some talent. So she's just not some pretty bimbo. But at the same time, she's also saying that with her looks, being a pretty bimbo is all she needs to be. So it looks like Teresa's sort of riding on easy street here. Then it turns out that Teresa's having all these high-profile romances. There was an oil prince from the Middle East. You can see the two are like, passionately necking here. Then it turned out Teresa was dating a big movie star. My guess, based on the way this is drawn, this is probably Kris Kristofferson, who sadly passed away just a few days ago. So this is kind of Kris Kristofferson dating Teresa here. You see the microphones. Helga here is taking pictures also. Oh no, there's a photographer over her head. Helga's thinking to herself that Teresa really doesn't care about this actor, and she thinks he's a creep, and the actor doesn't care for Teresa, so it's sort of a made-up Hollywood thing. Then it turns out that Teresa was also dating some football stars, and she was dating a youthful senator and an astronaut. Based on these faces here, it looks like she was dating Tony Stark. Looks like she was dating Roger Moore. It looks like this ginger here. He kind of looks like that French actor Gerald Depardieu, and it looks like Pierce Brosnan. She's also been dating him. So. But the thing is that Teresa sort of has a game with all these people, with all these men, where they would fall passionately in love with her, and then she would just break it off and just leave them devastated. And Helga's recognizing the fact that Teresa's treating this like a game. And then it talks about how Matt came back into their life. So Matt's the guy that Teresa was kissing in the pool, and this is sort of Helga going in flashback mode. And it turns out that Matt's father owns a construction company, and he's there on the job. And this is how Helga and Matt kind of reconnected. And Matt knows that Helga is part of Teresa's entourage, so of course he asked about her, and then she's saying, hey, why don't you come out and visit us? I know Teresa would love to see you. Helga kind of looks like a young Katie Sagal. Katie Sagal was actually a very attractive woman, although most people didn't know that based on the tacky attire she wore on Married with Children. So anyway, we're back to the pool again. So Helga's done with her flashbacks. And Teresa's really impressed with Matt. Matt's a really good looking guy. He has a great build. She says, quote unquote, he makes most of Hollywood's fair Romeos look like sissies. That's the type of dialogue you can get away with in 1975. And it turns out that Teresa is confiding with Helga that she plans on treating Matt the same way as she treated her other conquest. However, Helga's pleading with Teresa not to do this because Matt's an old friend and she really likes him, doesn't want to see him heartbroken. But the thing is that Helga is making her case to Teresa for her not to do this, and that she's saying, listen, I think it'd be a mistake if you did this with an old friend. However, Teresa's going ahead with her plan. Helga's very upset about this because she knows the heartbreak that Matt's going to be in. And Helga kind of narrows down Teresa's problem, saying that Teresa's too narcissistic to be in love with anyone other than herself. So we see there's a big premiere. Teresa's opening up a new movie. Huge press, huge crowds, huge interest. And it turns out that there's another movie coming up. And the producers and the public would really love to see Teresa in it. But the thing is, Teresa's having she's saying that she will not do that movie unless her current boyfriend, Matt, is the leading man. So, non-actor Matt is being thrust into the leading actor role by Teresa. And Teresa is so powerful, she's able to pull this off. Helga doesn't understand this, saying, listen, Matt, you're a Nepo baby in another business. You don't know anything about acting. And then Matt saying to Helga, listen, I've been studying. I've been taking, continuing ed classes. And I'm pretty good at it. So I'm going to try it out. And it makes 1,000% sense from Matt's point of view. If you're given that opportunity, you go for it. Even if it's a dumb move and it's a dumb move, if someone's going to pay you a crap load of money, you just suck it up and do it. I got to say, Matt I guess he kind of looks a little like Nicholas Hammond, I would say. This is back when he was doing Spider-Man. Maybe a little Parker Stevenson. Anyway, we see that Matt is confiding in Helga here, and Matt's on board. And he believes what Teresa's saying, although he does understand Helga's point of view. So Matt's being a little bit more cautious than probably some of the other guys. But it turns out that Helga can't work for Teresa anymore. So Helga is leaving the house. Matt is telling Teresa to stop Helga from leaving. And Teresa is not going to bring Helga back because she's saying, listen, I think she's trying to break us up. So right here, Teresa's sort of setting her wedge issue here. And she's already separated Matt from Helga. And so you can see how manipulative she is, because these apparently are best friends, but she's just doing this for a game. It turns out that Helga has, in the course of working with Teresa and being a part of her network, she was able to network a little bit herself in Hollywood. And she soon found a job with, it looks like an actor's agent. So she's working for an agent here. I guess she became friendly with one of the agents out there, and they hired her. Again, you figure Helga's going to have connections, and that's going to be helpful to an actor's agent. So Helga's talking to, he's talking to his boss, Aaron, here. Aaron, who's wearing a dog collar. That makes quite a statement. If you're a man, you have an open shirt here and a dog collar. It turns out that Aaron knows a little inside information about the picture that Teresa and Matt are making. It says that that the director is actually impressed with Matt, saying, "Hey, he's a good-looking guy and he's a decent actor." So the director is saying, "Listen, I'm pleasantly surprised that you brought someone in who looks like they can be a star." But the thing is, Teresa has been whispering in the director's ear for him to cut Matt's part down as little as possible. So the thing is that Matt is believing that he's being given this huge role, and when the actual movie comes out, he's going to be in it just for a small portion. I think I remember seeing that with the movie Fort Apache: The Bronx. Pam Grier in the original cut actually had a big role in that film. But the thing is, because of the runtime and the way the story went, they cut down her part to almost nothing. And that's the one example I can remember of this happening in real life. And it turns out that Teresa's been in a bad mood, and she's being a little manipulative on the set. Her and Matt have been fighting. So so at this point, Teresa's ready to spring her trap and to break up with this guy. Matt phoned Helga, and it turned out that Matt's seeing what's going on. So he isn't as gullible or as blindsided as Teresa's previous lovers, but nevertheless, Matt is kind of feeling it. He kind of admits, "Listen, Helga, you were right, and I should have listened to you." And Teresa's being very understanding, saying, "Listen, I can understand you not wanting to believe me about this." But Matt's kind of beside himself, and these really well-drawn panels here. So anyway, it turns out that Matt's feeling really terrible about himself. So even though he knows Teresa is manipulating him, Matt's blaming himself for this situation. Teresa's there to build him up a little bit, saying, "Listen, from what we heard from the director, they like what they see of you, and you're only being cut down in the film because of Teresa's little manipulations." So it turns out that they took some of the footage that Matt had shot in that movie, and what was planned to be cut out. They have possession of that footage, and Helga is showing this footage to the boss, Aaron. And Aaron and his dog collar, they really like it. They really like Matt there. I'm not sure for whatever reasons. So anyway, it turns out that Matt's career might be salvaged, because they were thinking that Teresa would be able to cut him out of the movie so much that his career might be over after that first movie. But it turns out that Hollywood, that some producers probably willing to give Matt another shot based on the footage they had seen. Matt, however, he's still a little despondent over what happened here. So Helga's telling Matt the good news that I'm here to let you know that we might be able to salvage your movie career here. And it turns out that Matt's a little resistant to that. He's saying I should give up Hollywood and go back to working with my dad's construction company. Yeah, I don't that Hollywood lifestyle and all that money and all that glamour. No. Just give me some gravel to pave. So then Helga's saying no, you should stick with it. We can get you some really good roles. This can really work out for you. You're given a dream opportunity, and you're practically going to give it up at this moment. And then it turns out that Matt realizes that although he initially went out there for Teresa and he was seduced by Teresa, he realizes that Helga is the one that he really should have been connected to. So he really knows that it's Helga is the one who cares for him. And I guess this is written for all the girls who are kind of overlooked. So anyway, it turns out that Matt and Helga, they're getting closer and closer. So Matt realizes that it's Helga who truly loves him. So the two embrace, and it turns out that Teresa shows up on the beach. So as the two are romantically embracing, Teresa catches them in the act. And but it turns out Teresa has no bad intentions toward them. She's not going to throw a temper tantrum. She realizes that you two are really great people and that you're meant for each other. And that if you can forgive me for all my petty little manipulations, I would love to go to the wedding. So kind of ends on this somewhat high note for Matt and Helga. A sad one for Teresa, because Teresa realizes that, again, she doesn't have anyone to go home to. She just has her career. And that's the end of the story. Yeah, these two will definitely make it. And I think that this story was, again, probably written for girls who felt overlooked, maybe by a prettier friend or something. Okay, now it's time for Buck's Bag. So we got the first letter here. It's from a girl. It's a girl, she had recently started dating, but she had stopped because she didn't really feel comfortable about it at the time. I guess she had gone on a couple of dates and she was like, I don't need a boy to complete me just yet. However, there was a homecoming dance being held at their school, and a new neighbor of hers had asked her to the dance. And the thing is, she didn't do it out of any romantic interest for the new neighbor. She did it because she kind of felt sorry for him. He was a new kid. He didn't really know anyone, and she thought she was just doing a nice, polite gesture. But then it turned out to be a little bit more serious, and the girl started dating this guy Steve for about 8 months. So they were kind of serious for a long while, particularly since she wasn't expecting it to be this serious. But it turns out that that they did have one little breakup, but they made up a month later. But then it turned out that Steve ran away from home, and he has written to her once since that time, and she hasn't heard from him since. And she's a little confused because she heard that he was taken out of the area where they're from. It looks like in Ontario. So this is some Canadians here. And she wants to know whether, she should wait to hear back from him or whether she should go out with other boys and move on. And Buck is saying, basically, listen, Steve has problems of his own, and you don't really want to be involved with them. And yeah, that's pretty good advice, I would say, for the most part. But Buck is saying, well, maybe give it a couple of weeks and then move on. I would put a little more immediacy in forgetting this guy, because it sounds like, there are issues that she can't handle with him. Okay, so the next letter from a 17-year-old girl. She likes this guy. However, when they're in public together, he will pick on her. Like he'll actually throw rocks at her, kind of make fun of her. But the thing is that when they're alone together, he's very sweet and he's very, kind of romantic to her. So it's sort of like this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde attitude from this kid. Buck is saying, get the hell away from him. And that this is not the type of person you want to be around. Because, obviously this is a very manipulative thing that he's doing. It's a very cruel thing, too. So, Buck is just saying, get away from this creep. Okay, so the next letter is from a girl. Her name is Desperate. She's in love with this guy named Perry. Perry used to live in Alabama, and he was engaged to a girl named Donna. They had known each other 4 years, and it turned out that I think Donna was cheating on Perry. And the thing is, because of this, Perry has become very distrustful of women in general, because he felt that Donna kind of broke his heart. But it turns out that she really wants to help Perry here to sort of regain his trust in women, because I guess Desperate has some feelings for Perry. The age seems somewhat appropriate. He's 17 and she's 15, a little under 15. So the age gap isn't that bad. And Buck is saying, listen, just be very calm, be very gentle. You need to help build him up to show that, not all women are mistrustful, and that you should kind of like take it slow. I think Desperate at one point mentioned marriage, but she was like no to that. And Buck is kind of saying you're right to say no to that, and that marriage is something you two shouldn't be thinking about. So but I think she'll be okay, and that's it. And that is my review of My Only Love, issue number 3, and I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.